Rosalie saw her 9-year-old get kidnapped right in front of her eyes. Her 15-year-old son helplessly limping after the speeding car. How did they get her back? Ordering a pizza would prove life-saving for little Jeannette Tamayo. Welcome to the Mystique Quest channel, and today we will talk about Jeannette Tamayo, whose knowledge of Law & Order TV shows helped capture her kidnapper. If you're a true crime buff who enjoys unique cases, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. June 6th, 2003. 9-year-old Jeannette Tamayo had just gotten home from school. It was a normal afternoon in San Jose. Noticing the doors open and her bedroom window smashed open, she grabbed a home phone to call her mother and realized that the cable was cut. Just then, someone knocked on the door, and despite a bad feeling, she made the mistake of opening it. The man she opened the door for forced his way in, dragged the little girl to her brother's room, and proceeded to assault her. Half an hour later, he tied up the little girl and backed his car into the garage. He handcuffed Jeanette to a box in the back seat. But just as he was lifting the garage door, another car pulled into the driveway. Jeanette's 15-year-old brother and mother.
My brother crawled under the garage. When it opened a few inches, the first thing I told him was to run.
The teenager and mother fought the man to the best of their abilities, but failed to stop him. When their kidnapper returned to the car, there was a manic smile plastered on his bloody face. Jeanette thought he killed her family. As she helplessly turned around to look at her house, the last thing Jeanette saw before the car turned the corner was her mother and brother limping out of the house. She breathed a sigh of relief at seeing them alive. Her brother Paul waved his arms at bystanders to get their attention and call 911. It was 4:37 p.m. Little Jeanette tried slamming her shoulder against the window, desperately calling at the other drivers to help her, when a merciless abductor stabbed her with a screwdriver twice. She slid out of his reach, looking up at the ceiling, thinking she would never make it out alive. But despite her dire situation, where any other child would have given up, Jeanette remained calm enough to note each turn the car made, memorizing it to make a mental map, hoping to find her way home if she ever escaped. The short car ride ended inside the garage of a white house. On the second floor was a locked bedroom with a small TV, a tiny window, and equipped with a bed and bathroom. The man threw her on the bathroom floor. Following an assault, he handcuffed her to the shower. Jeanette lay on that cold floor, wondering if she would ever see her family again. At her home, her mother tried to explain what happened to the police, her injuries worsening her condition, yet her instincts would not let her rest. She had to be forced onto a stretcher as she refused to ride the ambulance, anxious to help the police find her daughter. Detective Heather Randall didn't have much to go on, as the witnesses were unavailable, but she knew they had to be quick. The crime scene was so bloody that the chances of Jeanette's survival seemed bleak. Hoping to find Jeanette or her abductor's blood, they scanned the scene so that bloodhounds might be used to find her. The CCTV obtained from the neighbor's driveway showed the man had broken into the house 30 minutes before Jeanette got off her school bus. After robbing the place, he waited in the car for the little girl to get home. He spent 30 minutes in the house alone with her, subsequently taking her to the garage when Paul and Rosalie arrived on scene. Detective Randall was hoping to get the man's face on camera. It is compulsory in California to have the name, license plate number, or phone number of the kidnapper to launch a statewide Amber Alert. Sadly, the image was too pixelated. Randall got media attention, hoping that people would be on the lookout for Jeanette even without an Amber Alert. Soon, Jeanette's name was being called out from police helicopters. Thousands of flyers were being plastered all over the city, and almost the entirety of San Jose knew that a little girl by that name was missing. Rosalie's family was asked to come forth on TV the next day. Her cousin addressed Jeanette by her name, asking her to stay strong. She didn't know it at the time, but on the other end of the camera, Jeanette could hear her cousin on the little TV the man had.
And was talking to me through the news. She was saying, "Jeanette, if you can hear us, just know that. Be strong, girl. We're looking for you." She was like, "Just don't give up." That gave me hope. That gave me the strength. Either I'm going to fight to get out of here or die trying.
Disgusted by her captor, she knew she had to put her feelings aside and gain his trust to make it out alive.
I remember asking him, "Where are you from?"
He smiled for the first time since he had her. Gagging on the inside, she smiled back and asked him for a glass of water. For the first time ever, he simply handcuffed her and left her on the bed. She figured out the lock instantly.
I remember feeling with my fingers a little button and like a latch.
Detective shows like CSI and Law & Order had taught her that she needed evidence against her abductor. She grabbed his watch from the nightstand, took one of the toys he placed for her to play with, and grabbed her underwear in the bathroom, praying he left some DNA evidence on it. Just as she was stuffing the objects into her pocket, he was climbing back upstairs.
Went back on the bed, put the handcuffs on, and once he walked through the door, he just looked at me, and in my mind I was hoping, please don't touch me, because I had things on me that I was afraid that he might find.
Trusting her, the man allowed her to walk around unrestrained in the room and let her watch TV. She continued to manipulate him as she was emotionally immune to his sexual advances.
He asked me, "Are you hungry?" And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah." He gave me his cell phone. He had a cell phone with him, and he made me call for pizza. He gave me the phone number of the cell phone that he had, and I gave it to the man. The man on the other side of the phone said, "Can I get your address?" He told me the address.
Jeanette quickly memorized his number and address. When the pizza was delivered, it had a missing persons flyer on it with Jeanette's picture, which prompted the man to tell her that he would kill her that night. He left the room, and Jeanette gathered all the evidence, stuffed it in a pizza box, and shoved it under the bed. He came back to try and smother her with a pillow. Somehow, he changed his mind. He forced her into his car.
I remember just crying to myself and just saying, I did the best I could. I was just preparing myself for my own death.
Surprisingly, after threatening her to not tell anyone, he dropped her off at the corner of a street near a liquor store at 10:30 p.m.
And as soon as he stopped the car, he grabbed me by my hair. When I looked around, I was like, "Where are we?" And he was like, "I'm letting you go." And when he grabbed me by the back of my head, by my hair, he pulled me towards him. He was like, "If you ever tell anybody what I did or who I am or anything about me, I will come back for you and I will kill your family and I will kill you too."
The man behind the counter informed the police about the girl.
Use the phone. Actually, okay, here's the phone. When she started dialing the phone, she was panicking, scared. She didn't know how to dial the number.
Realizing how maturely the little girl was handling the situation, Detective Randall knew they had to act quickly.
I asked her, "Do you think you can find his house?" She said, "I think I can." And she said that she could direct us by saying right or left, right or left.
Thanks to Jeanette's good memory and quick thinking, a SWAT team was able to apprehend the kidnapper, 26-year-old David Montiel Cruz, just before he escaped. In a standoff with police, he gained multiple injuries from police canine unit and the dog bit his arms. Memorizing his number and address helped capture the monster. Thanks to the evidence Jeanette had gathered and hidden, in January 2005, he was sentenced to 102 years in prison. For a long time, Jeanette was afraid of men and never left the house. But at 15, she started healing. While it took a lot of therapy and counseling, Jeanette overcame the horror she went through, and following in Heather Randall's footsteps, she became an officer of the law. Training at the San Diego Police Academy, she became the first woman deputy chief in the history of San Jose. That's it for today, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for notifications.